So I've finally seen Tron Ares, which is a sequel to the other Tron films, although you might not know it from the fact there's only one character that literally has a cameo from the other ones. So my expectations going into this were that it'd be visually amazing, and I didn't know how the story would be. I was forced to go and watch Jared Leto in Morbius. I've been forced to go and watch Jared Leto other times because, well, my friend's a massive 30 Seconds to Mars fan, so hopefully it was going to be a better experience than Morbius. So that was good in a silly way, but bad at the same time. So the story itself is pretty simplistic. You know, you've got a rival corporation. Ooh, who'd have thought of that, eh? But Evan Peters seems to do quite a good job with this, you know, playing the evil corporate guy, which would be a fun role, you would think, wouldn't you? You know, and they're NCOM's rivals, but we're actually taking it into the real world now. And I find generally that when these sort of things start taking this technology, or whatever the technology is in the movie, into the real world, starts to get a bit dull, forced. And I thought that was kind of the case with this. I mean, honestly, I didn't think the story was that great. Were the visuals great? Yeah, brilliant. I didn't watch it in 3D, but I've heard of other people who've watched it in 3D, and they've been telling me that it looked really good. They kind of agreed with me on the story thing. Not that every time I go and watch something, review it, they agree with me on everything, but they went, yeah, the story kind of was around the visuals, or they just went, we've got the visuals, we'll have a kind of story, we just need to be a simplistic story. And I'm like, why do you not put more into it? Because there's no reason not to. It doesn't take up any more screen time or anything like that. And just the sheer fact that you didn't have any of the legacy characters in it apart from one forced cameo. Felt forced. However, Jared Leto did a really good job, I thought. I thought his being of like the sentient AI person within the rival company, Dillinger, was a good role, and also was always destined to go wrong. In a weird way, it reminded me of one of the things from Minority Report. I don't know why. I was literally watching it going, why am I thinking of this? But as I said, Jared Leto did a good job in his role. And do you know who else did a good job? Nine Inch Nails. The soundtrack was absolutely brilliant. So we had the visuals and the audio. If you want to go and watch this in 3D, and as I said, I know people who haven't have said it's amazing, I'd imagine the audio is going to be better in that experience as well. So you're going to get basically Tron at its full best that you can get out. It might be worth going and seeing in that sense. I did have fun watching this movie, but I did think maybe I should have gone all in with this because I knew that the visuals were going to be the main thing. And the audio, I actually wasn't aware that Nine Inch Nails had done it before, which I'm normally aware of something like that. So that was actually a nice surprise on my part. That added to my experience. And it's really weird because it's got a convoluted plot, even though I've criticised the storytelling, but it says very little within its plot. Like, it's like convoluted, but says very little. Because the theme actually isn't bad. It's like, where do we go with technology? One corporation, well, okay, it's not quite as simple as this, but, you know, someone's trying to make use of it for the betterment of humanity. The other one's trying to make use of it for weapons. Where do we use things? Where do we draw the line? What do we use these advancements for? Because they could be used for either. Now, it's pretty safe stuff, but you can go further with it because sometimes the tried and tested can work. But it really prioritised like cool looking visuals over the story. And it's like, did the budget really get affected by you making a better story? Yeah, did it? Because it didn't. It can't have. They still had to have a story. So I just don't get it. And the movie relied so much on, well, you know when you get nostalgia stuff and it's like, this is trying to do the heavy lifting because at the end of the day, the story just isn't doing it. And it's like, you could have had the nostalgia in anyway and had a better story. Plus, then the nostalgia seems forced. Whereas if it's a good story, the nostalgia, oh, sprinkly extra bit that we really love. Whereas it's like, no, you've got to lift a lot more because the other bit is not lifting what it's meant to. And in conclusion, look, when these movies get in the real world, as I mentioned, they struggle. This was no exception, but I feel like this could have been avoided a lot more with a better story because the themes worked in itself. I'm not saying it would have been brilliant and wouldn't have been like, not as good once you get in the real world, but it would have done a better job. Cool visuals, cool, amazing soundtrack, just brilliant soundtrack, but poor storytelling. And also, like, yeah, the cast was good. So I've mentioned 3 positives, 1 negative, but the negative was negative enough that, yeah. And I'll add as well that to a degree, I think when they're trying to get characters to come back in the next one, that it's going to seem like this was a little bit of an advert to a degree. Also introducing new characters, new things, but there's going to be a little bit of an advert sense. It's not quite the second Independence Day where the whole thing was just literally an advert for the third film. Oh, that was a terrible idea. And also Tron Ares is actually doing decently at the box office as far as I can see. So that's obviously boding well as opposed to Independence Day 2. But what did you think? Did you enjoy yourself? Did you have a great time? Perhaps you think the story was great. I don't know. But comment below, let me know. Please like, subscribe, ring the bell, all that stuff. Support the channel. It's very appreciated. And if you want more content, do that. And until next time, thank you very much, and I'll see you later.